Normally, this time of year in eastern Nepal is a frenzy of activity. It's the first flush harvest season, the most lucrative window to pick tea leaves. But right now, those bustling hillsides are completely silent. For the thousands of daily wage laborers, mostly women picking tea on these steep slopes, a silent harvest means zero income. If they don't pick, they don't eat. And the problem goes all the way up the chain. Down in the valleys of Ilam and Joppa, the major processing factories have suddenly locked their gates and halted operations entirely. The hills are full of healthy, abundant crops, yet the processing lines have stopped because the market that buys nearly all of this tea has effectively vanished overnight. Over 100 tea estates and processing factories across the region have shut their doors. That abrupt stop has created a massive physical bottleneck. Right now, 1.3 million kilograms of processed tea are rapidly piling up, trapped inside overstuffed warehouses and stalled transport trucks. To understand why this is so devastating, you have to look at where Nepal sends its harvest. The country produces about 27 million kilograms of tea every year, but very little of it stays local. This chart breaks down Nepal's annual tea production. When it comes to their premium orthodox tea, roughly 90% goes directly to a single buyer, India. Nepal's tea sector relies on an open, frictionless border with its neighbor, and over the last few weeks, that border has been slammed shut. The blockade traces back to a sudden policy change. Last month, the Tea Board of India enacted a new standard operating procedure for imports. Under these revised rules, Indian border officials can no longer just wave trucks through. Now, every single batch of imported tea requires mandatory laboratory testing and safety certification before it can enter the Indian market. In practice, this creates a logistical nightmare. Lab results take weeks to clear. For Nepali exporters, costs are skyrocketing while their perishable tea sits around and degrades in quality. A standard administrative update to a quality control framework effectively choked an entire international supply chain in a matter of days. If you look closely at the map, the geography reveals exactly why India made this move. Nepal's main tea districts, Ilam and Joppa, sit right next door to India's world-famous Darjeeling region. For years, Indian tea growers have complained about a flood of cheap, unregulated tea pouring in from countries like Kenya, Vietnam, and especially Nepal, undercutting local farmers. The real issue happens once it crosses the border. Brokers have been buying up this cheaper imported tea, blending it with local Indian leaves, and then re-exporting it globally at massive markups under the premium name of Darjeeling tea. Indian officials argue these strict border checks are a necessary measure to preserve Darjeeling's prestigious geographical indication status and protect the reputation of their domestic growers. To save the pricing power of its most famous export, India is willing to risk the collapse of a neighbor's agricultural sector. Back in Nepal, the situation has moved from the fields to the capital. Industry leaders have abandoned their quiet factories, traveling to Kathmandu to directly petition their government for a diplomatic intervention. From the perspective of these Nepali exporters, the lengthy lab tests are calculated non-tariff barriers designed specifically to choke their trade out of existence. This friction is mounting alongside broader regional tensions, including Nepal's own recent tariffs on Indian goods and resurfaced territorial map disputes. The blockade's timing coincides with a period of deepening tension between the two neighbors, with the fate of the tea industry now entangled in a much larger diplomatic standoff. While the politicians negotiate, millions of dollars in processed goods remain stuck on these narrow mountain roads, trapped in regulatory limbo. Inside those trucks, chemical degradation is already setting in. Without a diplomatic solution in the next few days, these 1.3 million kilograms of tea will simply rot, turning a year's work into worthless compost. The true cost is carried by the 60,000 workers watching their source of income expire alongside those leaves. India's effort to protect its most prestigious export brand has inadvertently threatened the survival of an entire industry across the border, leaving 100 factories dark and tens of thousands of families waiting for an answer.